June 5th, 2020.
This is Nerd Bourbon episode 157. I'm Seth Sturgill.
And I'm Todd Sturgill.
Todd, it's gonna be a weird week.
I mean, I'm always prepared for dumbass weeks like this.
It's gonna be a weird week, Todd. It's been a weird week in the world. Of course, I don't want to get political on this show, and we're not gonna be political on this show, but some fucked up shit been going on in the world this week, and as a result, just sort of in just pure solidarity, video game news has not really been a thing this week, so we're having to roll with the punches, as it were.
And this is what you get for starting to cover the news. That's what you get.
Look, when you have a news-based show, I mean, you have to have news.
And that is what you get.
That's all right. That's all right.
Get what you fucking deserve.
Yeah, get what you fucking deserve. No, but so what we've opted to do instead this week is this is actually the first time we've ever done this. We're doing kind of a mailbag episode of the show this week. And essentially I reached out to fans and I asked you guys for questions so that we could do kind of a Q&A episode this week in lieu of the news, since there just isn't much. We have a couple little, items here and there that we're going to cover, but not much. Primarily, this is going to be a straight mailbag episode, and we're just going to kind of see how this goes. I decided I'm not gonna announce who sent in the questions just for privacy's sake. I didn't really. The window of time was so short between me like receiving the questions and us having to record that I didn't want to frankly, I just didn't have enough time to ask people if they would be okay with me saying their names on the show and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna announce the names of the people, but you know who you are. When we read your question, you'll know who you are. So we have we got a lot of responses, man. I actually was surprised at how many questions we got when we asked for them. So I do appreciate that. You folks certainly saved the show this week, because otherwise it was like, we're just gonna wing this shit.
I mean, I would have had no issue winging the fuck out of it. Would have been amusing.
We could have done it. We could have done it. But no, we're going to do a Q&A instead.
You're too scared. You're too scared to give me that true power.
No, I don't want to see. I don't want to see what happens when I say, "Hey, Todd, we have no notes and no news. Go."
It'll be the Hobo Isle of podcasts, my boy.
And you guys have not seen Hobo Isle for yourself, but if you have, or if you had, you would know that is not a good thing.
There is structure where there needs to be structure. Do not judge me, boy. No.
I've come to accept Hobo Isle for what it is. I do not see beauty in it, but I respect it.
I see beauty in all things.
Anyway, Todd, what's been going on this week in your life?
Suffering and pain.
Any new video games, or are we still just kind of doing the same old bullshit?
Yeah, same old bullshit. I did almost jump on Monster Hunter in my sorrow, which that was a fucking thing. When I found out that I didn't delete that motherfucker, it was still like downloaded. And I'm just like,
is that what it was? You basically were just like, oh, it's still downloaded.
Yeah, I'm like looking at my library, and I'm like, because that's the thing. Originally, I was going to look to re-download it.
Oh God!
And then I'm like, oh, it's already downloaded.
No!
I'm like, hello. Oh no.
But you know what I'll say to that? The fact that you actually already had it downloaded and you still did not go back to it, that means that you're not that bored.
All right. I did jump on it.
Yeah, you just walked around for a few seconds.
I walked in Celiana for about like 5 minutes, and then I'm like, nah.
Then you realize that this was not the way.
This was not the way. Other than that, it's like, I've been fucking just playing Neo. That's really about it. Neo, and then I have the thought of playing other games, but then it's just Neo is the only thing I give a shit about.
That's fair. Just fits that shape. We've talked about it. I don't know how many times on this podcast over the past 3 years, but it just fits that shape, man. It's all that matters.
I did play a little Smash, I think, recently. So I don't know. Did that happen between last week and this week? I don't remember, man. My life's a
Yeah, I don't
blur.
remember.
I beat
Yeah,
my
little
I
smash,
beat a coworker of mine's ass in Smash. It was good.
little Super Smash Brothers. Always a good time.
I whooped his donkey ass.
Yo, it's June, and you know what though? They recently updated the Super Smash Brothers website, and on there it reconfirms that the Arms Fighter is coming at some point this month. So it has not been delayed as of yet.
Good.
So yeah, yeah, I'm ready for some more Smash, man. I'm ready for a new fighter to jump into. Did we talk? Did we like talk about that on the show? Who we think that fighter is probably going to be?
Uh, I think we might have. Yeah.
Can't remember. I'm throwing that hat. I'm dude. I think it's gonna be Min Min. I'm throwing that hat in the ring. Makes too much sense.
Yeah, they can't do the safe bet of dead ass doing like what Spring Boy or whatever the fuck he's called,
Well,
Springman.
Springman is already a assist trophy,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't really make sense. I mean, maybe they would do Ribbon Girl, but even that I think is a little too safe. It'd be cool to have more female representation of the game in general, but so many of the female characters in Arms are like really cool. All the characters have really good designs. I frankly would not be mad if any of them made it in, but I think Min Min just makes the most sense. So anyway, that should be happening. Yeah, for me, it's funny because it's again we same old bullshit. You and I have both been just kind of doing the same shit for the past month or so.
Hmm.
just, just not really. I don't know. Just a bunch of Animal Crossing when I have free time. I have fit an indie game or two in there, but nothing too crazy. I wanted to tell you about something that happened. I refrained from telling you this off
I,
mic.
I know. I know you were doing this.
You knew bits and pieces, but I wanted to save it for the show because I went on a journey with Pokemon this past week. And essentially what happened was I was, I still occasionally jump on Pokemon Sword just to, whenever I see that there's a new like Gigantamax Pokemon in the max raids, I'll jump on there and grab it, you know?
Hmm.
And so what ended up happening was for somehow or another, I saw a screenshot that somebody had posted on Twitter of them doing competitive battles in the battle tower with Primarina, which is one of the starters from Sun and Moon. So I was like, wait a minute, how the fuck did they get that in the game? And then I went down the rabbit hole learning about Pokemon Home, and I didn't realize I knew that you could transfer all of your Pokemon into Pokemon Home, but I didn't realize that you could bring some of them into Sword and Shield. Like you can take there's a list of probably 30 to 40 Pokemon that you can take from Pokemon Home across various generations and use them properly in Sword and Shield. So I'm like, "Oh shit. You're telling me I can get my boy? You're telling me I can put Decidueye on my team?" Like that makes Seth happy right there. So then I started to go down the rabbit hole of Decidueye builds and how I wanted to build out my Decidueye.
Hmm.
I learned of Decidueye's hidden ability, which is an ability called Long Reach. Long Reach is a hidden ability that essentially allows you to use contact based moves
Hmm.
without taking the repercussions of them. So, for example, a move like Brave Bird, which is a flying type move that is extremely high damage, but the kind of like backdraw of it is you also take damage and recoil, right?
But with that, you don't.
With this hidden ability, I do not take recoil damage.
That's pretty legit.
So I was like, hell yeah, I need to get myself a Rowlet with long reach. And so as Pokemon fans would know, the way to do this essentially would be uh to get the hidden ability would be to restart the game over and over and over again until you got yourself a Rowlet with the hidden ability you wanted. I did that a few times, and by the way, I forgot how fucking long-winded Sun and Moon's intro is. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the story of Sun and Moon. I love how story heavy it was, But that intro is long-winded as fuck. I totally forgot about that. You have to go through some shit. It probably each run probably takes 20 minutes
Oh fuck.
easily. Like before you even get the starter. So, and then it's another like 10 minutes after that before you get to a Pokemon Center and I could properly put it in a box. But so I did that a few times and this really pissed me off because I learned that after a few failed runs. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why have I not found this yet? I learned that you cannot get the hidden ability in Sun and Moon from the starter. The only way that you could have gotten a long reach Rowlet is if there was some sort of promotional event where they were giving away hidden ability starters for Sun and Moon. And that's the only way to have gotten it. Similar to what they're doing now with Sword and Shield, which I'll talk about in a minute. There was a promotional event, you could get your starters with their special hidden abilities, and that was the only way to get it. So I'm like, fuck, I can't get this. So I went to eBay.
How much did you spend?
Now it was only $2. Okay. It was
Don't
$1.99.
don't sit there and just say that like, oh, it was only $2.
Is that really so much to get like my
I,
pristine Decidueye?
yeah,
I guess value is in the eye of the beholder. To me, $2 is a small price to pay
that's a.
for my boy.
Actually, yeah, I just don't care. That's just dumb to me.
I to me it was a small price to pay, and I got myself a. Now this was hilarious. You could tell that this Pokemon was clearly hacked. Like they made a hacked Pokemon because like it was a shiny Decidueye
Oh god.
with long reach and perfect IVs and EVs. Now the morality inside of me was tested here because I was like, I can't, in good consciousness, I cannot use this Decidueye. I cannot use a hacked Decidueye. But I could have a legitimate baby from a hacked Decidueye. Because
Okay.
that's basically the only way that you can get transferable hidden abilities is you can have a Decidueye with long reach, basically have a Rowlet baby that carries on the long reach.
Hmm.
So that's the only way that you could have gotten it. So essentially, yeah, I hatched a Rowlet legitimately using the hacked Decidueye that I bought and got a long reach Rowlet that I then raised to a level 100 Decidueye, and now I have my Decidueye obtained through somewhat legitimate means.
Mm,
So
mm, I suppose.
now you say that. There's actually a gray area in the competitive scene of if that would still be considered legitimate or not. From my perspective, I think that's legitimate. Like, I may have used a hacked Pokemon just to get the hidden ability, but the Pokemon that I hatched was not hacked in any way.
You would not have had it without that garbage that you did.
It's true, but
It's not legitimate.
the only difference between me and a Pokemon that was obtained the other way is somebody who just happened to get it through the event or not.
Well,
There's
yeah.
no other way to
Well,
get
guess
it.
what? That was the only legitimate way.
I guess.
So
I
you
don't
are a criminal.
know. Well, it's not like I was planning on like competing in a tournament with it or anything like that, but I just wanted that hidden ability, so I went on a little bit of a fucking odyssey to get it. But it's done. I have it. I've got Decidueye and Primarina on my team, and I'm very, very happy with it. Just in time, as it turns out, for Isle of Armor, but we'll talk about that here in a second. Todd, are you ready for the very scarce news we have this week?
I suppose. I suppose so.
Let's cover these little. I have two news items here that are very, very brief, and I just want to cover these briefly and move into the Q&A. So, in response to current world events, obviously many developers and publishers have chosen to postpone many of their events and announcements. And of course, the most notable example being Sony, who has postponed their June 4th PS5 reveal event that we were actually talking. We wanted to obviously cover this on the show this week, and we were even going to go as far as to say, just so you guys know, we normally record this show on Wednesdays. We were going to say, hey, like, even though it would have been really shitty for you to record Thursday night, you work on Thursday nights, so that would have been really shitty for you.
To tell you the truth, I almost worked tonight.
Oh yeah, you almost picked up that
Well,
OT.
it's not. It wouldn't have been OT because it was the
Oh
only thing
right.
that saved it. Was I found out they were paying me for the Monday.
Okay, good, good.
'Cause
I
if I
figured they
was
were gonna do that.
now if I wasn't gonna be getting paid for that day, or I was basically forced off, I would've just said, "Fuck it," and, like, I try to make up a day, but
Yeah. Yeah, Todd, for those that don't know, lives in Chicago, and shit's pretty bad.
oh, yeah, it's great. Uh,
But anyway, we were planning on we were prepared to be recording Thursday night after the reveal event because it was just going to be such a big deal to reveal the PS5, obviously. But that is not happening anymore. A new date has not been given at the time of this recording. By the time you're listening to this, maybe a new date has been given, but right now, no. Sony does say that the event will still be happening soon.
mm,
So just wanted to let people know why we are not covering that this week on the show. Hopefully soon. We're gonna, maybe next week on the show we'll be able to cover it. I don't know, but I understand why news kind of came to a halt. There was a, let's just say there's like more important shit happening than video games this week. So a new trailer for the Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion pass has been released, showcasing the new environments and Pokemon of the two upcoming expansions, as well as providing a release date for the first one. Isle of Armor will be arriving on June 17th. And this is something I alluded to earlier. In celebration of this, a Pokemon Home promotion is allowing players to acquire a Grookey, Scorbunny, and a Sobble with brand new hidden abilities that have not been previously available in the game. So to get those, all you've got to do is transfer any Pokemon you want, any garbage Pokemon that's like hanging out in your box in your copy of Sword and Shield, transfer that into Pokemon Home, and then all you have to do is get on your Pokemon Home mobile app and redeem the 3 starters as mystery gifts. And that's it. And you're going to have a Grookey, Scorbunny, and Sobble with their respective hidden abilities just in time for Isle of Armor. And by the way, I don't know if it's with this one or if it's with Crown Tundra, the one coming out later this year, but the starter evolutions are going to get Gigantamax forms. So you're going to be able to get hidden abilities and Gigantamax forms from the starters.
mhm.
That's pretty fucking cool. And by the way, not some of these hidden abilities are crazy.
What was Store Bunnies? I remember you telling me about it, and I was like, "Yeah, that's cool."
Scorbunnies is crazy. I don't remember what it's called. It has like a strange name, but essentially what it is he takes on the typing
Mm.
of whatever move he uses.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So if you were to use like double kick, all of a sudden Scorbunny's a fighting type.
Mhm.
And unless I'm mistaken, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what that would mean is after he uses that ability, he's essentially become a fighting type. He would not, until he were to use a fire type move, he would no longer take increased damage from water types.
And if that is
Like,
true, that is fucking legit.
here's the deal: you could play with that character, that Cinderace it would be in this instance. If you were playing strategically with Cinderace, there, you could have a really, really interesting build. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the competitive scene does with builds with these hidden abilities. Grookey's is kind of like our Gorilla Boom or whatever, or Rillaboom. Um, his is whatever. It just kind of like he comes into, I forget what it's called, but he comes into the field and makes it instantly grassy terrain, which is fine. And then Inteleon's makes it so that I think it's called Sniper or something. It makes it so that the damage of a critical hit it's normally 125%, and now it's going to be 225%.
Oh my god.
So that's pretty crazy. That's going to be really intense. He's going to become a really strong player for critical builds. So anyway, that's going to be really cool to see. That's a really easy way to get your hands on those if you're interested. Just in time for Isle of Armor to come out in just a couple of weeks. Todd, ready for some questions?
Ready as I can ever be.
So, like I said, we solicited some questions from the audience. We're just going to go through these here. I think some of these are going to make for some interesting discussions. I think some of these are going to be brief, but let's tackle it, man. So the first one I've got here on the docket, I wanted to address this right out the front because this seemed like a very specific question, and it's also kind of more geared towards you. So the question here is: do you plan on doing a playthrough of Alien Isolation on your channel? Thoughts?
Short version. No, no, I'm just playing.
Short version: no, fuck you.
Long version is no.
Long version is
Well,
no.
no, actually, so here's the deal. I ended up buying the game when it was on sale. I do own it, and I do
Steam or
plan on
PS4?
PS4.
Okay.
Steam? I gotta record it. I hate recording shit off my computer.
Okay. 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 Okay.
What a, you fucking stupid,
That was another question for the Q&A. No, I'm just kidding.
you dumb bitch. No,
Somebody
yeah.
asked us later on in the show, "Are we stupid?"
But no, so I do own the game. I bought it on PS4 back when it was on sale. I do plan on doing a playthrough of it sooner or later. It's just when the fucking when everything aligns and I
Right.
actually am not like working like like once it was the corona, now you got this shit going on.
Yeah.
I My work life has been sporadic and like I work a lot. So
When
it's
the
like
world heals.
when the world heals and everything is somewhat normalish, maybe I can like find the time to actually sit down and record it.
It'll be
But
one of those things where it's like Todd is playing Alien Isolation, Mother Nature's healing.
yeah, real shit. So that's the other thing is I do want that to be kind of a dual commentary one with me and you.
Uh-huh. That'd be
Uh,
a fun one.
Did you play
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
You did play
I
it?
love that
Okay.
game. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm basically going into that game blind. I don't know much about it.
That'd be a fun one to do. We've actually I think we've even talked about it previously, like just like off recording. Just we have like discussed doing a series of that.
Well, no, I was planning on
So
doing something with it for like Halloween, last
right,
Halloween, but it just kind of like just fell through because like it was just I'm trying to what the fuck was going on,
probably just other games.
just
Probably
bullshit.
slip through the cracks. Yeah, yeah. No, that would be. I guess the TLDR version of that answer is
No,
yes. One day maybe. One day maybe when the moons align. We definitely the interest is there. How's that? The interest of doing an Alien Isolation playthrough is there for sure. So I don't know. Maybe if the fall time is not obviously a lot of things are going to be delayed out of the fall this year. We still don't know exactly what this fall is going to look like, but also we have new consoles coming out. So we're either going to be extremely busy with other things this fall, or maybe we won't. I don't know. So we'll see. But obviously, if and when that Alien Isolation playthrough does happen, you can rest assured that we will be pimping it out here on the show.
of course, of course.
The follow up question to that is what do you think of a developer who is most known for strategy games making the sudden shift to the horror genre? So, what the question is referring to here is that obviously Alien Isolation, for those that don't know, was developed by a team called Creative Assembly, who are most known for the Total War series.
hmm
And it was kind of a strange shift for them to tackle a survival horror game. What do you make of that?
I mean, it's interesting because they came out and they genuinely made, from what I understand, one of the better survival horror games. It's a recent memory.
It really is. In terms of, here's the thing that people have to understand about Alien Isolation. When you think of Alien as a franchise, there are two different sections of it, right? You've got Alien, which is like the more psychological thriller, and then you've got Aliens,
Yep.
which is basically a straight action movie, right? And there's a reason that this is not called Aliens Isolation.
Yes.
This is very much you can't I don't think it is possible almost for there to be a more perfect representation of that 70s that original that first Alien
Mm.
movie, that slow burn, quiet psychological movie. The Alien Isolation really is the perfect representation of that in video game
I'll tell you
form.
right now, there's another reason I don't want to play it in a way. I know I'm gonna piss myself. I know I'm gonna get like
Yeah.
I've seen things about that game. I know things about that game. That fucker learns. I don't like it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it does. It learns you can't rely on the same old tricks throughout the whole game. That's for sure. It's good. It's a good game, man. But what's interesting about these guys, Creative Assembly, is even though they're known for Total War and stuff like that, it does sort of seem like they do like to branch out every so often. I didn't realize I was looking at their sort of gameography, as it were, And I didn't realize that they made a Viking Battle for Asgard. Do you remember that game?
No, what the fuck is that?
Viking Battle for Asgard. I played it back on 360. And I actually like really enjoyed it. It's like a hack and slash, like action adventure RPG. And I remember really liking it. I got a really good time with that game. I don't remember like when I played it. I think it was when I was working at GameStop. But it was actually a pretty fun little game. I remember it had a really good achievement list. I 100%ed that game.
Hmm.
So, but they have been known to branch out. They're owned by Sega. They're one of the it's kind of interesting that Sega is their parent company because Sega does not own a lot of like studios, but they're hanging on to Creative Assembly, boy.
Hanging on for
So
dear life.
yeah, and I mean the Total War series. What's even more interesting to me about them making that shift and making like a super good horror game in Alien Isolation is then they just went back to making Total War. Like
Hey,
it's not like
you stick with what you know, all right?
yeah, I guess. I mean, like, but Alien Isolation was successful, and they supported it with like DLC and stuff, and like that was all great. But then they just kind of like, all right, we're just gonna, all right. It's almost like they're like, we scratched that itch. Like, let's go back to, let's go back to what we know. Anyway, let's move on to the next question. I feel like we've answered that sufficiently. Has a horror game, has playing a horror game rather, ever given you nightmares?
Actually, no.
Well, you don't remember your dreams or nightmares
Well,
anyway.
the only thing that I have ever remembered giving me a nightmare, it wasn't even a horror game.
What was it?
It was Jade Empire when I was a kid.
Really? That gave you a nightmare?
No, bro, no. It was when you were in hell.
Oh,
Or like
okay.
the hell shit. And there was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that pig fucking, you know what I'm talking about? The big old cow pig demon?
Oh,
Whatever the fuck.
yes.
Yeah. So when I
Yes.
was the original playthrough of this, when I was like young as fuck, that fucked me up. That fucked me up when I was a kid.
I mean, I think the game is rated M. You probably shouldn't have been playing it, to be
Shh.
fair. That's funny.
That shit fucked me up. I remember that. That actually stuck with me because but yeah, other than
S-
that, no, I don't remember shit. Maybe I've gotten nightmares. Who knows?
So, yeah, I struggle to think of something that gave me legitimate nightmares. I remember, I don't know if it gave me nightmares, but I do remember when I was a kid being scared of Majora's Mask.
Rightfully so. I can see that.
It's just, it's a dark game, and like especially the mask like sequences when you first put on the mask gets really like trippy for a bit there. There's also in Twilight Princess, there's a pretty scary sequence with there's a lot of like trippy kind of scary dream shit in that game too. And I remember that kind of being scary when that game came out, but I struggle to think of playing a game that scared me so much I was given nightmares from it. Video game horror doesn't really go that
Nah.
far for me. What are some of your biggest video game design pet peeves? I'll tell you one right off the bat for me.
What?
Underwater shit.
Ooh.
I hate that. I hate it when it's not
Escort
done
shit.
well. Oh yeah, escort missions, yeah.
Fuck you. It's not fun. It's never been fun. Anybody that
Those
designs
always
that shit,
suck.
it's filler. It's fucking filler. I get it, but fuck you.
That shit always sucks.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. My biggest issue with escort shit is how slow they make the motherfuckers walk.
Has there ever been a good escort mission in
No,
a game?
there's never been.
Has there ever been an escort mission like, you know what, that was actually pretty fun?
Do you know what my so the one that I'll just use the Dragon's Dogma one. You know, like where you're like out with that cart,
Oh, right, yeah.
dude. By the end of it, I'm just sitting there like latched onto this fucking whatever the hell cow, just waiting for death because I just like fuck.
I always dread it whenever you're playing like WoW or something and an escort mission pops up. I'm like, God damn it, dude.
Hurt, dude. That hurts my soul. It genuinely hurts my soul. Escort missions.
That was actually they were really bad about that in vanilla WoW. Remember when we were playing WoW Classic and we did that shit with the pirates?
Oh shit.
And we broke into this like castle
Yeah.
Or like Pirate Stronghold and you had to like escort somebody out of it.
Yeah, it was ass.
Oh my god, that sucked. Yeah, escort missions suck
There's
as
a
a
lot of
general.
shit that classic WoW love to do, and I'm just like, fuck.
Missable. I hate it when collectibles are missable.
Ooh, missable collectibles, and you can't even go back. Yeah, that's bullshit. Yeah,
That always
yeah.
sucks. Well, it's like, oh, I hope you had this at this time in the game or whatever. There are very few games that do that in a way that does not piss me off. When subtitles are too small,
mm,
that annoys
yeah,
me.
that is. I've seen though. That's kind of a problem.
We're getting a little bit better than with that. Like kind of accessibility options are kind of becoming more and more prevalent in game design in the modern day, where it's like just give me a decent sized subtitles.
My issue, I don't like when the HUD's like too overbearing.
Oh my god, yeah. I like a good clean HUD.
Dude, that's why like I'm like super excited for Ghost of Tsushima, man. That shit looks fucking clean.
Yeah, that's a good HUD. Good HUD design is important. But yeah, immediately the first thing that came to my mind was underwater. Like nobody it seems to be the hardest thing to design in a game is good underwater stuff.
Just fucking don't do it.
I hate it. Like I can't think of a single game where I was like, yeah,
It's not underwater shit in general. It's just water shit in general.
yeah.
Anything dealing with water in games sucks ass.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Why is it that whenever water gets involved with video games, it's just whenever you talk to somebody about Ocarina of Time, oh, that fucking water temple, right? Playing Assassin's Creed, like even Odyssey, like my least favorite parts playing that game was when I had to fucking go underwater.
hmm
It always sucks. I don't know. It's never been good. I'm sure I could rattle off, on and on about video game pet peeves, but that's certainly a good one. Uh, I like this question a lot. I think this is an interesting question. Are pay to play MMOs such as WoW dying in the modern gaming culture, or are MMOs dying in general?
Ooh. I mean, you've seen the fucking like steady like curve essentially of like like people are not playing WoW as much.
Not nearly as much as they used to,
I mean,
no.
like I do think. I mean, I don't think it's gonna die anytime soon, but it's a slow burn.
Here's the thing. How many pay to play MMOs are there even in general
Well,
now?
pay to play, not a lot anymore. Like, because a lot of them. So a lot of what a lot of MMOs do now are essentially like they're free to play, but you can pay for a premium service essentially.
Right. Right. Well,
Like
even WoW, I think you can play for free up to like level 20 or something?
something. Did they actually do that now? Because again, I don't fucking play WoW anymore.
I think that's a thing.
WoW is like honestly the I think the last bastion of really being a pay to play MMO right now because it's just
Yeah.
lot more MMOs rely more on the premium service shit and then also just microtransactions.
Here's the thing that I think needs to be considered in general. If when I look at like video game design trends of this past generation, the generation that we're like leaving now, the big thing that I think can be taken away from this generation is people are making games that are supported for a long time post launch typically.
Yeah, more so of like build a community around a single game.
And that's something that
Yeah.
MMOs have been doing for a long, long time, right? But the thing about it is like MMOs have always like, oh, we're releasing updates and expansions. Well, a lot of games are doing that now.
Yeah.
It's not really unique or rare anymore what MMOs have been doing for years. Now other games are starting to catch on to that. And you're seeing you're seeing games that are sort of like bridging that gap a little bit of a traditional video game with an MMO, kind of like Destiny or The Division or something like that.
Mhm.
You're seeing games take essentially the design tenets that MMOs have been incorporating for, 10, 15 years now. And I mean, longer than that for the genre in general, but really, like, WoW came out, 15 plus years ago and really sort of redefined it. And now we're taking those ideas and we're making them fit into kind of more contemporary video game genres. And then when you couple that with, yeah, with stuff like you know, when you're talking about free to play games, and it's just it is kind of hard. That is a little bit of a tougher pill to swallow. MMOs are not super viable, I don't think anymore. Because like the big appeal for MMOs used to be, right? You would talk to people who still play WoW, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I pay $15 a month, but think about all the game I'm getting there. I can just play it forever." It's like, well,
Mhm.
now there's a lot of games like that.
Mhm.
Like it's actually not super unique anymore for a game to come out that you can continue to play and play because that's what developers and publishers want from you. They want you to continue to play their game. They're trying to get you to retain that game as long as possible, hold your interest for as long as possible. And that's a space that MMOs kind of operated in almost exclusively for a while, and it's not anymore. In other words, more kids have come to the playground now. You know what I mean? So, and I think we're starting to see that bridge, that sort of hole, that MMO hole that's been in a lot of people's hearts, I think is being filled more and more with more contemporary games.
Yeah.
Even in games like like say something like Borderlands, or Gearbox has that Godfall game coming out for PS5. You know,
I actually forgot about that.
there are a lot of games that these are multiplayer centric games
Mhm.
that have like plans for post launch and stuff. It's not an MMO, but it kind of scratches that same itch.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I are MMOs dying? No, I don't think MMOs are ever going to fully die. But I think that in
They're not
terms
gonna be as
of
prevalent.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. In terms of their relevance, I think their relevancy is certainly to be called into question. And even a game like think of a game like Ark, right?
Mhm.
Where you get a big old group of friends together and you play like the survival game together, or a game like Minecraft where you guys can build stuff together. I mean, as we become more and more connected, the things that we used to come to an MMO for, we can now just simply get from many,
Yeah.
many, many
Yep.
places. So, I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. Has Battlefront 2 redeemed itself since its murky launch? And does great post launch support make up for a bad initial release?
All right. Well, short version of this is yes and yes. Now,
We've talked about Battlefront 2, I think, a lot on the
yeah,
show,
I
but
would say that we've basically covered this question essentially. Like Battlefront 2, I jump on it like still basically.
yeah.
Like it's it's a great time. Now, the great post-launch support thing. That does that mean that the game will survive the initial bad release? No.
This is where I think the question gets interesting because yeah, the first part of the question, right, is something that we've covered a bunch. Did Star Wars Battlefront 2 make the turnaround? Yeah, totally. Like that game is great. It's free right now for PlayStation Plus. If you're a PS Plus member, grab that game. It's really really good. They totally turned it around.
Yeah, it's
Th-
great.
they've really like made lemonade out of those lemons, right? After its horrible launch. But again, I think the interesting question here is the second part. Does that make up for it having a shitty release? Kind of no, because they've kind of done the best possible thing they can do with that game.
Mhm.
Like take Star Wars Battlefront 2 is a great example of when that game came out, like it was basically like the devil incarnate, right?
Oh,
Where
dude,
it
it
was
was
just like
universally fucking hated. It was like, holy shit. The memes were so good.
that game was essentially single-handedly responsible for the microtransactions discussion reaching
Yes.
critical mass.
Yes. It put that shit like in like news sites or like fucking like right like just the actual like mainstream media were talking about it. It's like fuck.
Yeah, so this is why I think Battlefront 2 just perfectly illustrates this point because that launch basically could not have been worse. And then it comes out, it sells what it sells or whatever, it gets horrible media attention. Then they start to work on turning it around. And they turned it into something really great, and the game now is great. But the damage has already been done.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like that game is already the reputation of that game is already set in stone. That game's place in history, even in the best case scenario, which I think they turned it around into the best possible thing it could be at this point. Like it is now sitting in its best case scenario, and it's still not good enough. And in fact, from what we're hearing, they're not even the Battlefront 3 isn't even in the planning stages for EA.
Wow.
So
I mean, it's good enough for me. I think it's a, but yeah.
it's good enough for me. I love the game, but like does good, post launch support make up for a bad initial release? Kind of no, because
Yeah.
you sort of have to come out swinging, and you have to it's like Battlefield 5, right? This is another EA game as a great example. You and I loved Battlefield 1, right? Played the shit out of that game,
Oh yeah, I loved it.
right?
Battlefield 5 did not hit. Uh,
Yeah.
did not
We
hit
were
the same
fucking
way.
hyped for Battlefield 5. So you and I, we both bought it, right? Day one, let's go, right? And I think we even got like the deluxe edition that allowed us to like play early or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's fucking go, right? And yeah, like you said, it just did not hit. We just didn't like it. Now, I have not gone back to Battlefield 5. For all I know, that game could be great now.
I
But
hear my buddy Ron, my buddy Ron, his ass is like that ass like told me he's like, dude, you should play it. They got these new maps, they're really good. I guess they.
again,
I'm like,
it's
eh.
too late.
Yeah, I just don't care. Like I didn't even really enjoy the fucking late to the game battle royale mode. Like it was just like that was weak as fuck.
Yeah. So I'm of two minds of this. In a way, I support people who try to like sort of turn their fortunes and really turn the game around and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, does it make up for it? I guess it just depends on your perspective on it.
I
Does
mean,
it
I
make up
think
for it?
yeah, I think that's completely like a subjective point of
Yeah.
view, looking at like these games.
Like, is it enough for me? Yes. Is it enough for like the story of the game and the way the publisher looks at the game and
Probably
the
not.
way kind of
Yeah.
history is going to look back at the game? Yeah, no. Like I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Should all games be crossplay, or is the separation of consoles and PC healthy for a competitive environment? This is an interesting one.
So in a perfect world, I do think everything should be crossplay. Like play with anybody on whatever fucking system. I don't give a shit. It'll never happen.
So you say that though, right? You
I
say,
mean,
like in a perfect world, all games without crossplay. But the I think the addendum to this is why if essentially if you could play with anybody on any system, like is that I think there are two ways you could look at this question. If you can play with anybody on any system, then why is it not like what's going to incentivize you to get one system over the other? Like what's
preference.
gonna be that? What's that?
Preference.
Yeah, just I guess that's what it would boil down to at that point, right? Just pure preference. And then you have to consider things like competitive advantage. Now, we've talked about this on the show before too, where like you could play Call of Duty with somebody who's playing on PC and still whoop their ass or whatever. But in terms of the actual raw, like things, when you start talking about things like DPI and stuff that a
Yeah.
mouse and keyboard can do that a controller just can't, you know, is that something that has to be considered when you're talking about something like crossplay? Like, are we going to get to a point? I don't, I just, I'm sort of two minds on it because on one hand, I'm with you. I'm like, I would love it to be for us to be in a place where we can just play any game with anybody. That would be great. On the other hand, it's like, are you going to start seeing tournaments where it's like, hey, these dudes are on Xbox and these dudes are on PC?
I'll tell you right now. I do know when I'm playing against some PC motherfuckers on Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
I mean, I still whoop their ass, but I know it. But I noticed them.
But I mean, like, I'm not talking about skill levels. I'm talking about just in terms of the sheer hardware.
Oh yeah.
They just literally have an advantage. You know what I mean? Like, it's that's not subjective. Like, that is objective. And I feel like on one hand it's cool for for the sort of gaming experience, things like crossplay, but and for competitive, the question specifically is asking if it's healthy for a competitive environment.
No, I don't think it is.
I don't know that it is.
Yeah. Like on a casual level, yeah, I'm down for it. But when you get to the competitive, it's like, no, fuck you.
If what you're referring to is a competitive environment in terms of like buying consoles and stuff, then yeah, I think as we said, it's just it just boiled down to preference at that point.
Mhm.
But in terms of competitive, actual competitive gameplay, no, I don't think it necessarily is a good thing. I think that a lot of people put stake in that. A lot of people are like, oh, like I gotta play, I gotta play Borderlands on PS4 because that's what all my buddies are getting it on. So it would be kind of nice if it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
So I'm of two minds of this one. Has playing a video game ever made you want to try a real life skill, such as playing a Tony Hawk game and picking up skateboarding, or playing something like Rock Band and wanting to play music?
Like, to be perfectly honest, no.
Just never.
No.
I don't think that Tony Hawk specifically made me want to skateboard.
I think you were, like, around that time, that's where that shit was, like, yeah. I don't
I
know.
was just I was just a teenager when those games were coming out, and
Yeah.
I was just in that, Jackass was like in theaters, and like we're watching like Viva La Bam and shit like that. I was just right place, right time for skating. I don't think Tony Hawk was certainly like it was in the recipe, but it was not the
It
main
wasn't the
ingredient.
main ingredient, yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know that I would say, and then I've been playing guitar for God 16 years, so I don't know that I would say that Rock Band or
No,
Guitar
it's
Hero or
just it
anything.
was that was not a thing for me because I enjoy these as what they are. I'm not gonna, like, go out and do the actual thing, like, I don't give a shit.
Now, I've certainly been influenced by video game things. Like there have been times playing video games where I'm just like for example, I've always loved to write. I've always loved writing and stuff like that. And
Mhm,
I would say that a game like say Portal or even like the or Psychonauts for example,
mhm.
I would say that that certainly kind of tuned my ear for like comedy dialogue,
Okay.
like funny sort of dialogue and stuff. If I'm writing funny dialogue or funny situations for something like D&D, or if I'm writing something like nonfiction or something, I would say that those certainly influenced it. I would say that a game I'll never, when I played Portal, I was just like, well, fuck, I'm never gonna write anything like that good in my life. I'm just not. Like that's just never gonna happen. And like that game is just so pitch perfect and like funny, and the writing of the first Portal and really Portal 2 also is just perfect. And I'm just like I'm never going to be this good. So there is that element. It did not necessarily influence me to be a writer, but there are video games that push me and inspire me in my writing all the time. I think about Ken Levine and the BioShock series. Like totally. Are you kidding me? Like I play that game and I'm just like any of the BioShock games, I'm just like, God damn, like I need to step my shit up. you know? Like all the time. Great writing in video games influenced that. And I guess you could consider that to be a real life skill. I mean, certainly, yeah,
Yeah, that's I wouldn't disagree with you on that.
but yeah, in terms of like me being like, oh, I played this and now I want to do this.
Nah, I'm not.
No, not really.
I've never been that sort of guy. Like, I don't care like that. Uh,
Yeah. So this is gonna be an interesting one. What are some of the worst games you've ever played?
alright, well, it's a recent memory.
I'm just waiting for you to be like Sekiro, Doom Eternal.
Go ahead and answer it for me.
The worst game you've ever played?
Yes.
No, what's it gonna be?
You already got it.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Come on.
No, I'm just kidding. I was being an asshole. Dead ass, worst game I've ever played. That's a loaded question.
I've played some shitty ass
That's
games
the
in
thing,
my
I
day.
played some shitty ass games, and I'm like, I gotta, like, go through them and try to figure that shit out?
Now I'll say this. I'll just shout out a few shitty ass games I've played. When I was like a big like when I was a bad achievement whore when I first
Oh,
started
yeah,
working at
you played some
GameStop.
shit.
Whoo we played some bad shit back then, man. If you just don't even go through my gamer score history, don't go through that. Just do yourself a favor, don't go through that. I would play these like licensed games, like the Captain America movie game, the Green Lantern game. And I would actually, oh, it's not that bad. When really I was only playing it for the fucking achievements. The Avatar: The Last Airbender game where you just like mashed B to get all the achievements, but the game itself sucked.
Mm.
The Kung Fu Panda game I played. Yeah, it was pretty rough. I think about worst games. Now, I'm gonna say something very controversial.
Oh Lord.
Are you ready for this? I'm gonna catch shit. I already know I'm gonna catch shit for this. So, within the past 5 years, I don't remember what the circumstance was. Maybe it was at a PAX or something like that. But within the past 5 years, I picked up a Nintendo 64 controller and I played GoldenEye 007.
My boy, are you about? Are you? Oh,
That
it's
game
bad.
is not good, Todd. That game is just not good. It does not hold up whatsoever.
Are you? Are you? So are you saying that put yourself back in time? At the
Oh
time,
no. Back then, that game was like life changing.
well,
I
that's what I'm
loved
saying.
that
I
game.
don't think it's fair for obviously if you go back to that pile of shit, it's a pile of shit now.
Well, no, but I can go back and play Banjo Kazooie or Mario 64, and they're still fucking fantastic.
Mm.
Like that's what I'm saying. That's a conversation I think that's worth having in itself. What's the free pass that we give here? What's the wiggle room here? Banjo Kazooie, you could play that game today, and it is still just as good as it was, 20 years ago. Like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, these are all on the same hardware as GoldenEye. Now, to be fair, GoldenEye was a first-person shooter, and the controller was really not designed. The controller really wasn't designed for human hands at all. If we're being honest, the Nintendo 64 controller just fucking categorically sucks. But like, and for what it was, yeah, it was revolutionary. But it doesn't hold up, bro.
Ooh,
It does not hold up whatsoever.
that's kind of a recent memory. One of the worst games I've ever played.
What's that?
Fallout 76.
Hey, that's another goes back to the earlier question. Does good post-launch support make up for a shitty initial release? No,
Didn't
Fallout
for me.
76. I've got a bad taste in my mouth for that game now. I don't want to go back.
The only good thing about that game for me was just like it made a joke of like, oh, what the fuck was it? I was just channeling the
We have to
guild master.
scavenge for food, drink.
Food, drink, like
Have you any potions or food?
fucking stupid.
That's that fucking Star Wars bounty hunter game.
Ooh, I still want you to go back and beat that.
Oh my god. Some of the shit that I just sometimes I play some of these old games, I'm like, why was this ever okay? Do you know what I mean? I was like, why was this ever okay? Like, I remember playing that game when it first came out, and I was like, oh, this is so badass.
Dude, I loved watching you play it recently. It was like so good.
It's not a good game, man. Like, it's just not. I remember playing a game on Wii that came out when I was working at GameStop, and I remember it was a situation where I knew that it was going to be bad going in. I'd heard like I saw the reviews of it and stuff like that, and I knew it was going to be horrible. So I had to see it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game on Wii called Ninja Bread Man.
What?
Okay, Ninja Bread Man. Look this up if you want to. One of the worst fucking games I've ever played. Like it is just as a platformer, it's horrible. And actually, visually, I don't remember hating it. Like
I hate it.
I.
I hate the fuck out of it.
I remember like the enemies were like bees, and like the hitboxes were so fucking bad. Like I remember I
Oh,
just
dude,
hated that
I
game.
fucking hate the shit out of the aesthetic of this game. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I haven't looked at it in a while.
Dude,
I
it's
remember
not
when it
good.
came out.
It bothers the shit out of me.
But you play as this little. I mean, you could kind of infer you are a
Ninja
ninja
gingerbread man.
gingerbread man.
That's
Yeah,
exactly what
and
you are, and I hate it.
oh yeah, looking back, graphics kind of look like shit, but it's colorful. It's got kind of a candy aesthetic,
I
right?
hate it.
But it's like an action platformer where you collect shit. It's not a good game at all, man. And that was one of those that like I had to like experience it for myself. So that's definitely up there with some of the worst games ever played. But oh, you know what's funny? Another game that I didn't know for years that Superman 64 was considered like a really shitty game.
Really?
I loved that game when I was a kid. When that game first came out, when like before the internet, and all that, like when that game first came out, I loved Superman 64. Like I had a fun time just flying around as Superman. And then you go back and you play it now. That game's a piece of shit, man. Like widely regarded to be one of the worst games ever made, but when I was a kid it was good enough for me. I was flying around as Superman. I was fucking happy. That was it. And
Ooh,
it was like it was styled in that Bruce Timm art style, you know?
the original Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, like the top down one?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck that game.
That's another thing that might be controversial. I loved GTA 3 when it first came out. GTA 3 does not hold up. It just doesn't. Like it's hard to go back to some of those old GTA games, bro.
Nah, yeah, fuck, can't do it. It's
It's
not happening.
hard.
Shit, I don't even think 4 is held up that well.
Oh, fuck you. 4's hold up. 4 holds up. 4 totally holds up.
When was the last time you played it?
Shut up.
Exactly, bitch.
It's been a while. I
That's
think 4 would hold up.
you think. You
Uh,
think.
I love GTA 4. You talking? I would love for them to remaster that game, but it's never going to happen.
I had to throw that out there just to get a reaction. It was good.
Anyway, last question I've got here to wrap up the show. I thought this was a good one to end with. In your opinion, what is the most important game of the 2010s?
Did we not cover this?
Now, we did our favorite games of the decade, but this is a very different question, Todd.
Mm.
The most important game of the 2010 decade. Now, it's kind of hard
Now
to
what do we
dispute.
now when we say important, like we want to basically what kind of like set an example, kind of change like, what popularized certain games and shit.
Yes. And this is something that we did sort of touch while we were talking about the games of the decade and stuff, but I think we ultimately fell on what our favorites were. But if we're talking about influential, important games of the 2010s, I could throw out a few. Minecraft,
Yeah, Minecraft definitely.
Dark Souls.
Technically Dark Souls didn't come out until 2010, but yes.
It was like 2009 probably,
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, I think you can feed into that with just the sequels, uh, 2 and 3 as well.
So I wouldn't consider that's a good point. If the first Dark Souls did not come out in 2010 plus, then yeah, I don't think I would count that.
But I
Um
do well, granted, I'll give it this. Not a lot of people actually I don't think a lot of people played it in 2009.
yeah, yeah, that's true. I don't know. I think I would disqualify Dark Souls just by virtue of that. It was not released in 2010.
Yeah. But
I
granted,
think
the sequels were, but yeah.
yeah, I think Minecraft is a good one in terms of just importance for sure. That's a good one. I
Skyrim.
also I
What
gotta
the
be honest. What's that?
I said Skyrim.
I gotta be honest
Oh,
in
shit.
terms of like importance too. Like for me, wait a minute. I'm seeing Dark Souls 2011.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I'm seeing Dark Souls for 2011 here. Yeah, Demon Souls is 2009.
They lied to me. Or I just remember Demon Souls apparently.
Yeah, Demon Souls 2009. So Dark Souls, I do think deserves to be in the conversation.
Yeah, Dark Souls is in there. Okay. I was remembering fucking Demon Souls apparently.
So, but a game that the game that I'm thinking of in terms of like importance though, I think Gone Home. I think that a
Mhm.
lot of games piggybacked off of Gone Home.
Yeah, I can see that. Shit, I didn't even play that game, and I fucking enjoy it.
In terms of like in terms of importance though, I mean that game
Yeah,
I can't really think of too many games before that tackled like LGBT issues
and
on like bold faced, you know?
yeah,
And
shit.
moreover like the whole like explore the kind of like explorative
There's so
nature.
much of that game that you could miss in a way.
You could consider that game to be the game that created walking sims almost. Even though obviously you could go back, you could trace it back to games like
It
Myst and stuff like that. But
yeah.
I would say that Gone Home was the first one that like really took off. If you're asking me personally, what game like affected me the most in the 2010 era, like what game was the most important to me in my personal life, I would say probably Gone Home or maybe even The Last of Us.
I mean, you've essentially already brought up like if you're going that route, it's Dark Souls for me. That was like that helped me a
Right.
lot with my depression back then.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. Yeah. BioShock Infinite
hmm?
I was really important to me in the 2010 era. I mean, like there's a few different ways I could go, but if I had to give it to a single game whose influence is still felt today that came out in the 2010s, I think I would say Minecraft.
Yeah,
Minecraft is still super relevant today. Minecraft is going to be evergreen. Like Minecraft will outlive the two of us, that's for sure.
I completely agree with that shit.
That's just true. Anyway, that's all of my questions, Todd. I that we worked through them all. I appreciate everybody for sending those in. It was kind of fun. I actually liked that.
Yeah, I didn't mind this episode. I
Yeah, I
thought this
actually
was going to
enjoyed
be a
doing that.
steaming pile of shit. No, I'm just
I thoroughly enjoyed that. That this may be something that we do again in the future. So
on another
anyway,
light news week.
yeah, and another in the event of
You
another light news week,
basically bit yourself in the ass.
reach out to the fans, and the fans will provide questions. The fans will make the show for us.
Hey, there's not many of you. No.
But you are out there. Shout out to you guys. We appreciate the questions. We enjoyed Aing the cues, as it were. Todd, let's end the show with our brand new segment that we debuted on the show last week, the Brendan Fraser quote of the week. I've got the Brendan Fraser quote of the week for you here, Todd. It is, quote, I believe you have a responsibility to comport yourself in a manner that gives an example to others. As a young man, I prayed for success. Now, I pray just to be worthy of it. End quote.
Again, it's another banger.
Yo, there's a lot of bangers. I got plenty of them.
See, I want you by the end of this because you jokingly you joke with my love of this man, but I want you to love him as well.
I do love him. This is you misunderstand. You misunderstand. I love him too. I'm never gonna love him as much as you. That's just never gonna happen. But I respect Brendan Fraser. I have an adoration of Brendan Fraser that I feel like needs to be represented on this show. I feel like in a weird way, Brendan Fraser is a bit of a mascot for this show. Brendan Fraser is the face of Nerd Bourbon now. And after his ex-wife took everything from him, I would say that Bourbon was definitely the face of Brendan Fraser. And you know what? Brendan Fraser is kind of all of us. We bring that just depressed energy, that just that's the soulless hopes being crushed. I think that's something that Brendan Fraser carries as well. I think we have a kindred spirit in Brendan Fraser. Anyway, that was the Brendan Fraser quote of the week, Todd. You got anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
I think that's about it, man.
Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next week. Get fucking dunked on. Bye.
See ya.